Rennsport is not out, but it's already making waves in sim racing. Its reception has been quite positive due to ESL 1, and now the open beta is eagerly expected by everyone. While there aren't any news about release dates of the open beta or the full title, after being persistent with the ESL team and going something like this, I was able to get an early preview. So let's go through the current state of Rennsport, but bear in mind that everything can change by the time it's released. As of this moment, there aren't many options in Rennsport. We have the single player and multiplayer, which I can't get access to it because it's basically LAN. We have your player profile and we have options. A player profile, we have the choice of number, nationality, and your name, and we also have garage. On garage, you can change your car. On the beginning, when I registered this, you had access to choose one car and that car would be yours. So I'm not sure how this is going to work when the game starts. I suppose you're going to have some sort of metadata associated with the car. And it kind of seems to me, because it does have these indications of numbers and that these cars can be traded and you can trade the metadata. I'm not sure this is going to happen, but it's the feeling I get. Liveries can be created. I don't have any liveries at the moment. So if you are into a livery editor, this will be very simple for you to upload a livery to the server. A few of the liveries are already loaded. The ESL R1 drivers, so you have the 48 of them here, and then on gallery it's where the replays are stored. Going towards the options, starting at audio, you have the very normal volumes that you can choose. Video, it's very similar to any other game. You have options for DLSS if you want to. On rendering, you have the options for projection correction, triple screens. This can help with the correction. Then you can also change the FPS of your mirrors, so this can help with performance. As of this moment, because I have a 3070 with only 8 gigs, I decided to go with the quality preset high and with the DLSS at quality. This gives a small boost on performance. Going towards the gameplay, very similar to any other sim racing title. You can change the type of units you want. You can change your assists. So because at this moment, you only have access to GT3s, clutch at automatic. Can save telemetry, and you also can save your replays. Going towards the controls, this is where we can see this is an alpha or a beta and it still needs some polishing. For example, if I change the USB of my steering wheel, USB port, it will not be detected no matter what I'm going to do. And then here on brakes, it's exactly the same thing, still on the beta. When I start braking, it gives me like 2 inputs, additional axis 6 and 3. So I have to pre-push it really hard to give me like where I wanted it to be, so it gives me the correct axis to work on. In bindings, you have bindings for everything, like car and cameras and spectator and interface. Over here at car, there's something really interesting, which is toggle the full course yellow limiter. So it's probably going to be with some cars coming in or some with rule sets coming in where you do need to toggle your full course yellow. In order to turn some laps, there's only one option, which is quick session. There's not a lot of things to do. However, there are some interesting things here. For example, if you go to race settings, you have number of given place stages. This could be, for example, useful if you do a time trial with point-to-point, like rally, hill climbing or downhill. If they have mods, you might have, for example, Toge. That would be fun. Then other options like the mode. At the moment, there's only practice here. You can't do a race or anything. On the left side, there's drivers. You can see it's grayed out, number of AI contestants. So in the future, it's likely we're going to have AI in this game. We have a couple of cars, the ones that you own, the ones that you can take as a loaner. And we have the Audi, the BMW, the Mercedes, and the Porsche. So at the moment, it's only GT3. So at the moment, only GT3 cars. It's likely they've chosen it because GT3 is actually really popular in sim racing. Only 3 tracks at the moment: Spa, Hockenheim, Nurburgring. There's no option for time of day or weather as of this moment. As this is a beta, there aren't really any options when you are inside of the game. So you have basically the same ones that were on the main menu. On the force feedback side, this is something that is really peaky. So the first thing that I needed to do when I started racing in this, I needed to filter it just a little bit into 4, as the force feedback can get quite chattery. However, I think the force feedback is actually well done. And in terms of penalties, because this is still the start, there's no penalties if you go over the speeds in the box. The first impression that I really got driving this is how the force feedback is so different from Assetto Corsa Competizione, but in a really good way. It feels like the car communicates better to you what it's doing. You have more seat of pants. You have more information of where the car is stepping in, which is pretty important when you're driving a car. The first thing I was told about this game from the perspective of an ESLR1 driver was that you really should turn off the traction control because it's gonna sound like a machine gun and it will be very intrusive. However, I'm not at their skill level. I do need a little bit of it to keep the car going in the correct direction, but that tells you that some of the systems that these cars need to be a little bit polished, which is normal. It's a really good thing that we don't have any penalties coming out of the pit because this pit is really long. And speaking of pits, because of layouts, this is the wrong exit for Spa, at least on GT3, so I'd hope to see more layouts here. And this also transfers to Nurburgring, which has the wrong chicane for GT3 driving. Instead of the fast S that we get at the ends, we do have later, I'm gonna show you, the GP chicane, which kind of sucks. What doesn't suck is actually the graphics. Well, they're still not out there and you really don't have the options to change the saturation. I would much rather have the option to see a little bit of saturation here, a little bit of extra one. It looks pretty nice. And in the case of Spa, what we have here is the layout for the last year. So they added this part with the exit. So you also have the MotoGP option. And as we're going to see later, for La Source, you have now, instead of the tarmac, we're going to have the gravel pit. It's pretty cool change. So we have a Rennsport using the latest version of the circuit. I'm not too sure if these circuits are laser scans. They kind of seem so, but in some areas they look different. Maybe there was some resurfacing here and there. Not too sure about that. However, even if it isn't, it's a really good representation of the track. And it's very high quality. And furthermore, they're using the latest version of the track, which is pretty cool. So as we're gonna cross here, I'm really not very fast in Spa at all, and much less in this game. Now as we go into La Source, as you can see, there's the gravel over there, especially when you exit La Source. Generally, if you drive in Assetto Corsa Competizione, there's a lot of side-to-side action coming out of La Source. Nope. Over here, you really can't. If you pushed out, you're gonna get stuck. Oh, Rouge Rallion, really cool. Also, it seems to be the new Rallion. It has a steeper incline. Not incline, it has a steeper area to turn to the right at the Rallion. Coming in. I'm really slow here. I'm definitely far slower than Crime 6, and Crime 6 started sim racing like 5 minutes ago. In terms of driving, this thing is actually pretty nice. It doesn't feel as focused as Assetto Corsa feels. However, you can really see a good base for GT3 driving. The tires have more give, more side-to-side give, so you have a little more space to play with the slip angle, which gives me a lot of hope for when other cars come here with less grip, like whatever it's going to be in a low-end Formula Skippy-like cars, or when you have road cars that are made as race cars, something like if it has like old BTCC or old DTM or something like that. These cars are going to be really playful. But in terms of GT3 driving, if it's going to be like a sim, it needs a little bit better focus, but you can't really expect that it's going to be perfect the first time around. And if you look at something that I mentioned before, the traction control, there's no traction control to models. The last track is Nurburgring. Once again, it's a very great replica of it. I'm not sure if it is or not laser scan. It does seem like it. If it's not, it is tremendously well done. I wish we get more layouts of this. For example, we could get the Nurburgring short that we got, for example, in Gran Turismo 7. And, of course, while we are at Nurburgring, why wouldn't we get Nordschleife? It would be really cool. I'm not sure how it's gonna be. I'm just saying it's a waste if it's not here, especially if you're gonna leave this opened. The tracks, you know, very high level, very high fidelity. I just wish to change the color palette a little bit. It's a bit too cold for me to on the bluish side. Get a little bit of colors there. Maybe in the future they'll give us the opportunity to do that, like we have in Assetto Corsa Competizione. In terms of handling, I like the Audi, though it drives completely different from the Assetto Corsa one, because you do need to use traction control 0-1. And in Assetto Corsa Competizione, you do also have traction control 2, which is working now better in the Audi. Here it is, the GP. We should have, you know, the GT3 layout, which is just there. I'm not sure why they are not doing that. That's probably one of the simplest things they can add to test layouts or multiplayer layouts, but it's their option. I'm actually rather impressed with Rennsport at the moment in terms of handling. It's not as focused as a title like Assetto Corsa Competizione. I don't think it's ever going to be like that. However, the base to the left here is, as of this moment, very high level. If you just went like 5 years ago with Project Cars 2, where, you know, GT3 was something very important there, this kind of feels better than that, and we don't have any ways to change setups as of this moment. The tires feel, I think, really cool, even if it's a little bit playful or too playful. Not sure how it's going to be on the aero thing, if it's going to have any stall or not. The car feels okay. All the cars feel okay, even if a bit too loose. If the setups, whenever they come in, are going to fix that or not, that is really up to see later on. But as it is, I really feel good about this title. Though, you know, like I said, lots of things need to be improved, and they really need to tell us about how it's going to be in terms of business model, how the DLCs are going to work, if they are there at all. You know, give us an example of a mod that you could have in this game, how modding is going to work here, or how it's going to integrate. You don't really need to show everything right now. If we could see, like, you know, beta models of it, if we could see just prototypes of it working, or their ideas, a little bit of sketches, while at the same time not promising all of that, because, you know, when you start doing stuff like this, a lot of things are gonna be dropped off because they're not feasible or not. But I would like to see a little more openness from the guys at Rennsport and the guys at the LSLR1 on how they really want to see this partnership, the game and the SL working. As it is, Rennsport has a lot of potential, plenty of rough edges, but it feels promising. Now, if we could see content outside of GT3, that would be amazing. If you liked the video, consider a sub, and thank you to all the channel members for all the support over the years.